Hi guys, Pam here for Q&A Monday. I hope you've had a fabulous break over Christmas and New Year and you're ready to get back into the hard slog of running a beauty business. Today I thought I'd talk about something that I think is really important but probably doesn't get thought about a lot, and that is recruitment for your business. Now, I've been very fortunate that I was able to undertake some fantastic training in the area of recruitment, and I'd like to pass along some of the things that I learned to you because I found them incredibly useful in all of the businesses that where I've employed staff. And I hope that these little tips might be really helpful to you as well. Now, if you've got any questions, please feel free to, add them to the live video, and I'll be happy to answer anything for you that I can. Now, I'm not a HR specialist or anything like that. These are purely things that I've learned along the way to help me, employ better staff and get better results, because one thing I do know for sure is one of the biggest headaches most salon and spa owners come to me with is staffing issues, recruitment, performance and so forth. So here goes. You need a new staff member and you're in a bit of a bind, you're in a hurry and you need to get someone fast. Well, the first thing I want to say to you is if you hire in haste, you will repent at leisure. And what I mean by that is that, rushing in and grabbing the first person who replies to your advertisement, or the girl who dropped in a resume last week and said she was available to start straight away, is going to be the biggest mistake you make. Maybe 1 in every 100 times you're going to strike it lucky and grab somebody who is actually pretty good, but the chances of you getting somebody that's not suited to you or your business is very, very high if you recruit using these tactics. So I think what I'm saying to you, and that what you're getting from me, is that your hiring and recruitment needs to be a lot more thought out and a lot more structured and take a little bit of time to get the right person, because hiring the wrong person can not only cost you clients, it's definitely going to cost you a lot of stress, but just the sheer cost of recruiting and training over and over and over again is just horrendous to a small business. So, waiting a little bit and finding the right person is definitely going to be the right thing for your business. So what I'm going to suggest you do first and foremost is, you've got a position vacant. Let's write up a job description. Now, that job description is going to basically take what's in here in your head and put it down on a sheet of paper so that you can be really clear about the person that you're looking for, the skills that they must have to do the job, and some of the skills that you'd like them to have, those little pluses that aren't crucial to doing a great job, but certainly would make life a little easier. So, sit down and put pen to paper and write down a job description. Describe the perfect applicant for your job. What should they be able to do? What level should they be at in doing it? What are those little extra services that you'd love for them to be able to do? But if not, you've got, the ability to train them up and bring them up to that level in good time. So that's your job description out of the way. And as a writer, what I find is that once I write up a document like that, I usually like to let it, put it to the side, let it simmer for a little bit, maybe a day or so, and then I'll come back and revisit it, and it will definitely change because I think of new things and I, change things around a little bit. So, give it 24, 48 hours so that you've got the right job description, you haven't forgotten anything. But most importantly, be clear and be specific about what you want. If you're not clear and specific, it's going to make it really hard to go to the next step, and that is advertising the position. Now, you and I both know that advertising a job these days, whether it's on Seek or one of those other companies, is really expensive. I mean, God, fall off the seat expensive. I, think that's outrageous, but it seems to be where people tend to go when they're looking for employment. So as an employer, you've got to go there too. So we want to make sure that the ad we do is really clear and precise and lays out exactly the type of things that you've written up in your job description. This is the person that I'm looking for. This is the skills that they must already have in place. These are the skills that would be a bonus to have. And don't forget also to include a section about what it is that you can offer them. You know, if you're an employer who likes to do regular training and provides incentive bonuses, or you offer something that makes you a little bit better than the average salon employer out there, make sure you include that as well. But this is your opportunity to begin that attraction process of the right person for your business, okay? What we were trying to do with doing this is we're trying to eliminate people applying for the job who are vastly underqualified, because that's just a big fat waste of your time. Really, you don't want to go down that path where you get 100 applicants for the job when 98 of them are so completely, you know, underqualified or wrong for the position, because that's a big drain on your time and very stressful. So we really want to attract quality over quantity at this point, and a really well-written advertisement using your job description to draw information from is going to ensure that you get a better quality applicant for the position that you've got available. So you've received a couple of worthwhile applications, which is fantastic, from your advertisement. Now's the time to take them through a quick 10-minute phone interview. And the reason we do this is you want to make doubly sure that they actually do have the right quals and the right approach. I mean, if you are speaking to somebody over the telephone and you find that their phone manner is not right, or they're very brusque, or you're just finding that they're not your cup of tea, that's an important thing. That's a gut thing, and you've got to listen to that. Also, it gives you the opportunity to ask a few questions that you may not have covered in your advertisement. Personally, I always like to find out how long a person has been living in the area, because I'm from the Gold Coast and we get a lot of transient people through the Gold Coast. So if you're in an area that has a lot of transient touristy type people, travellers, you also might want to find out whether that person is going to be a long-term prospect or just somebody who's looking to work for 3 months until they're going to move on to their next area. So that's one thing I look at. I also look at things like, transport. If you're in an area that doesn't have great public transport and your applicant is going to have to rely on public transport to get to you, that could be a real issue for your business. So there's usually a little list of questions that you will want to ask that you haven't included in your job advertisement. So this is a good time to run through those questions and possibly further weed out the applicants that you've got. So, you may be able to kind of trim down and, get a tighter bundle of really good quality applicants, because you don't want to waste, an hour on an unsuitable applicant down the track. It's far better off to weed them out during this 10-minute interview process. The next thing I want to talk about is having a customised job application document. Now, a lot of salon owners have fallen into the trap of believing everything that's on the resume that gets handed to them. Well, let me share a little story with you. I have a friend who writes resumes professionally. That's her job, to get people the most fantastic resumes and to help them get a foot in the door and get the job. And we were having lunch one day and she was telling me about some of the people that she's written resumes for. And I was just cracking myself laughing because some of the things, the words that she put in these resumes, the way she twisted the facts, and, it was incredible. She was really brilliant at the job, but I would hate to be the employer employing on that resume, because while it wasn't untruthful. It was really stretched in terms of its honesty. So I learned a lesson from that, and now I realise that resumes are like a fantasy document. They're like a storybook, fantasy. So don't rely on resumes. You need your applicants to fill in a customised job application form. That application form has to be customised, around your needs and around the needs of your business. So, make sure you've got your own customised job application form, and make sure that you have each applicant fill that in. Now, very occasionally, you're going to find that people won't want to fill in that job application form. I've actually handed people a job application form and said, look, okay, you've made it to this level. I'm very interested in you. Here's the job application form. Please fill it in and bring it back to me, in 24 hours. And I've actually had them hand it back into me completely empty, nothing on it, with a resume attached to it. That tells me they're hiding something from me, either that or they're lazy. And I don't want either dishonest or lazy people working in my business. So, the minute somebody does that to me, they're immediately eliminated in terms of working in my business. So if you get people who just attach a resume and hand it back and say, there you go, that's all you need to know, in my opinion, they've totally eliminated themselves from the whole race, and they're not going to get the job. So customised job application form is crucial, so that you get the kind of information that you need to make a decision about that next person that you're going to bring into your business and who's going to be dealing with your clients. Now, at the interview, you're probably making the same mistakes I did when I first started out, and that is I was selling the job to the applicant, and I did all the talking. And at the end of it, I walked away and gone, I really don't know much more about that person than when they walked in the door. I've got the job interview, the job application form here, but I should have been talking to her about all of those things on the form. I should have been going through it step by step. Tell me a little bit more about this. How did you find that job? What made you want to leave that position? I should have been using that time to find out so much more about the applicants. And instead of me doing all the talking, I should have been asking the questions and letting them do all the talking. So, if I had to break it down for you, I'd say, spend 20% of the time talking in the interview and 80% of the time listening, and just ask simple open questions, things that don't need a yes no answer, things that's going to stimulate a conversation, such as tell me more about the last salon that you worked at. They can't answer yes or no to that. They've got to give you some details. So keep digging down. And if your gut says to you, oh, I need to know a little bit more about that situation, then, keep digging down. Keep asking those open questions. Just sit back, be relaxed. When you're relaxed, your interviewee is relaxed. They're more likely to share information with you. And I always spend at least 60 minutes doing a application, because 60 minutes it is a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time when you consider you're thinking about bringing this person into your salon to work with the rest of your team, to work with your clients, and of course to work with you. So this is a really important process. It shouldn't be rushed. And we want to get our applicants to do as much of the talking as we can. So once the first face-to-face interview has been completed, then the next step is whether you've got to decide whether that person has or hasn't got what it takes to work in your business. And don't let desperation drive you at this point. Honestly, like I said before, hire in haste, repent at leisure. You're going to need to make sure that this person is the right person for your business, and one of the best ways to do that is to check the references. Now, I have a customised job application form that I always used, and I would always ask them to list references who were past employers, okay, because let's face it, their mum, their dad, their Auntie Jane and their best friend Mary is going to give them glowing references if you ring them up on the phone. So those kind of personal references, I don't even bother with those, because truly they're not worth the paper they're written on. You need to get some past employer references, and you need more than one, because you know, if they've left a job and perhaps it wasn't their fault, perhaps they had a lousy employer. Let's face it, not everybody's fantastic as boss. So you've got to get more than one feedback from past employers. So it's really good to ring past employers and say, look, Mary Jane, who worked for you 3 years ago, has applied for a position as a beauty therapist with my salon. I'd really appreciate you know, if you could just give me a little bit of feedback on how you found her when she worked in your job. And, you know, most employers will kind of give you a little bit of information. People are a little bit antsy about giving too much information these days. If that's the case, one of the things that I always used to say would be, well, look, could you just tell me whether, you know, if Mary Jane were to reapply for a position with your salon, would you re-employ her? And the answer to that question usually tells you everything you need to know. But checking references is really, really important. You know, I've even run and checked references on people who have come from England and other overseas countries, and it's been a really worthwhile thing to do. It's not a big deal anymore to do that, but you get lots of super valuable information from past employers that will be really vital to you in making that decision about whether or not to employ them. Now, if you've gone through that process and you're thinking, look, this person's looking pretty good, you know, we'll get down to 1 or 2 people here, and don't hesitate in asking them to come back for a second interview. What I've always found is at a second interview, people are always much more relaxed, and they tend to tell you even more. I've had some amazing information shared with me at second interviews, and and I think, why would you tell me that? You know, you just basically talked yourself out of getting this job. And you know, but people do, they tell you stuff, and I think they think that they've got the job, and maybe, you know, like that you're more of a friend and all that kind of thing. Once again, you do the questions, they do the talking, and you're either going to find out they're the perfect applicant at this point, or you're going to find out they've been hiding things from you in the earlier interview. But a second interview is not a bad idea if time permits, and I do highly recommend it. And I like to do my interviews face to face. You know, I like to see how people turn up to their interviews. I've had other businesses outside of the beauty industry, and I've had people turn up in shorts and rubber thongs and chewing gum and all kinds of so impressive behaviour. But, you know, it's just amazing. Some people really astound you. Like, they're not at all what they sound fantastic over the telephone, and they turn up to their job interview and go, oh my God, if this is how you turn up for an interview, how are you going to turn up to work every day? So I like the face-to-face interviews. I think it's definitely worthwhile. Yes, that first 10-minute interview is going to be over the telephone, but that's really just to get a feel for them and maybe eliminate people who are not going to be right for your business. But those face-to-face interviews are gold. So, you know, make sure you do face-to-face. And of course, you know, once you've gone through this process, you've checked the references, you've come down, you make sure you do a skills test, because skills test is so important. I employed a girl once, and she had amazing qualifications. You know, she had ITEC qualifications and Zdesco qualifications, and she sounded brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I made the mistake of not giving her a skills test, because I hired in haste, didn't I? You know, and I did all the things that I'm telling you not to do. This is in the very early days. And I started getting complaints, and I thought, why would I be getting complaints? You know, this girl is so much more qualified than I am. You know, she sounded like she was just an angel sent from heaven when I employed her. But it turned out, in my salon, we always did a 20-minute facial massage component in all of our facials. And that was kind of standard. And at that time, I was pretty confident that most Australian trained therapists were also including that kind of massage timing in their facials. However, this girl was European trained, and she was Maltese actually. And when I spoke to her about the complaints that I'd received, the clients were saying I was really disappointed in the facial massage, and because I really look forward to that, don't we all? And it turned out that where she was trained, the facial massage component was 7 minutes. So, she said to me, I don't know why they're complaining, Pam. She said, I give them the full 7 minutes. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand. And it was my fault because, I didn't give her a skills test. I didn't actually see her do a facial before I employed her. And, so the problem was completely my fault. It was completely my fault. I was the one who should have done the skills testing, and in a rush I didn't do it. I just assumed that because she had these qualifications that she was going to be brilliant, but it didn't turn out so good. So we did some work on that and brought her up to scratch, and everything was fine. But look, these are the things. So let me just go through it again. First of all, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper and do up a job description. Next, I want you to do your job advertisement using the information that you've created from that job description, being very clear. So you're going to tell them what you want from them, and you're going to include what you're going to give them in return. Then you're going to do your 10-minute interviews over the phone to help eliminate people who still manage to, even though you've been quite specific about what you want, sometimes people just think, oh, well, I'll give it a go, even though I don't meet the criteria. So that 10 minutes invested there helps to eliminate those people. And then you're going to make sure they fill in a customised job application form, something that's customised to the need of your business, instead of just giving you the resume or the fairy tale document, as I call it. The face-to-face interview, where they're going to do 80% of the talking and you're going to ask open questions. Then you're going to check their references to make sure that everything that they've told you actually kind of tallies up. More than one past employer, and personal references really don't matter at all. And of course, then we're going to bring them in for the skills test, and that's going to tell us whether everything comes together. What looked good on paper marries up with how they actually do the work. So there you go. That is everything that I've got to share with you on recruitment. If you do need some templates to help you, like job application forms, job description forms and things like that, I've actually got some of these in my Accelerate coaching modules on my business webpage, which I'll put the link to after this live chat is finished. And you might find them really useful. They're pretty detailed, and you'll get them in a Word format, so you can customize them to meet the needs of your own business and of course the laws of your own state. But they're there if that would be helpful to you. It would certainly be quicker than you trying to write them up yourself from scratch. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I always enjoy these little talks, even though it's only a one-way thing. But please leave a comment, ask a question. I'm here to help. And until next week, have a fantastic week and a happy new year. And I hope 2007 brings you everything that you're wishing for. Bye for now.